Hello, this is going to be a video for Pixel Daily's theme, stone. I think it is. I think it's stone. And what I want to do is I want to do a stone face. Now the image that I've got was 100 by 100 pixels, and I'm still going to create a square space for it. But I'm going to do so in a way that allows for a little bit of room, both for you guys to see what I'm doing as well as keeping track of a palette if I decide to. I think I'm going to do a grayscale. But I think I'm going to limit myself to 5 colors. I think that'll be interesting. Now what I want to do is some sort of stone idol. So either a kind of a, let's say, a totem or something, like some sort of figure. So I was thinking of doing a stone thing like this, you know, and just having a face here, right? Angry face. But I think it might be cool if I instead do it like an idol sitting on a pedestal and kind of an alcove on a wall. It still have, you know, the angry, but more like this kind of face. I think it's a little too big. It doesn't really provide any clue to what the size of the scene is. So I think I'm going to make it like this big, and then that's going to act as my scale. So all I want to do right now is find, actually, let's not do it like that. Let's just do it, actually we can keep that reference, but let's not try and do it in a sort of top-down perspective. Let's just focus on the image itself. And I'm going to do this by using sort of chiaroscuro technique, which is just drawing the main black shapes. And I'll extrapolate everything from there. So this is going to be sort of the eye shadow. And then I'll use this as a way to create my features for the rest of the face. So this is the bottom of the nose here. And then I'm going to start doing the shape for the space in between the lips. So the shadow of the top lip, I should also erase some of it. And the shadow of the bottom lip. Maybe lip a little bigger. Something like that. Okay, and now for the side of the face. Also kind of in this kind of things, I tend to do the lines very much close to 0, 45 or 90 degrees. Just because I kind of imagine that would be the easiest way for whoever sculpted this out of stone would be best. Like that this is going to be a lot of work if I start doing all these organic things. So let's just keep it math friendly. So this is the shadow here for the bottom jaw. Okay, so we have something. We have half a face. I'm going to flip this around. See if I can align it in a way that makes sense or visually is interesting. Okay, that looks, I think I can accept that. And even if it's not going to be the final version of it, I can kind of live with that. I also want to do is the front shadow, which I know it's odd, but it basically is something like this. Although the things that are the areas that I'm going to paint blue are going to be the front shadow, which is going to be all the surfaces that are facing, in this case, to this virtual camera that we've created. And all the faces that aren't are not going to be painted that color. Okay, so these are facing us. There's a part here that is facing up us as well as these, but not the top ones. The top ones are going to be darker. Okay, so what I have in black is not always going to be black. It's in some cases it's going to be white or at least a bright color. And what I'm doing here with the black is, where the blue is defining the surfaces that are indeed facing us. And I'm just looking for those surfaces on the face and saying this is parallel to the camera, so that should be shaded this color, you know. And that's pretty much just going in and putting a couple of dots here and there. Okay, I think I'm happy. So for this, we're gonna go full dark. Let's do a purplish, damn it. Let's not lock the transparency. Purplish color. Now we lock the transparency and we paint it over. Right, that's good. And now for the bottom, for the background, I'm going to use some greenish gray. And that's going to be our stone color. This. So let's hide our sketch. And we're starting to get something, right? But now because of the green, because of this blue, it looks extremely saturated. So we're going to bring it down with our hue and saturation, just bring the saturation down. And it starts to go into purple because it's going to close to gray. So let's keep it within the blues, but pull it a little bit more towards, yeah, it's just towards blue, but also desaturated. So now we have a bluish tint, which in reality, if I show you the color there, you can almost see it's just gray. But in relation to the other colors, it works really well. Now what we're going to do is over this, we're going to find another color, which is going to be our warm stone color, because we're going to be lighting this with candles. And it doesn't look like much in front of a white background, but here it's quite bright. See, relative color again. And we're going to be looking for surfaces on the face that are facing the sides. So for example, here's a big one. Here's another big one. Big one here. This whole side of the face is facing that way. So where I had black, it looks better to have those bright shades. The same way as here on the side of the lips, on the side of the nose as well. Not so much on the eyebrows. We'll keep the eyebrows the way they are, and on the bottom here of the bags under the eyes. As well on the side of the chin and across the jaw, basically. Everything in between we should leave with the stone color. Okay, so let's copy this to the other side, not the whole thing. I don't need the palette. So let's copy this to the other side. And of course, this is a lot easier to do if you have an understanding of the volumes of the face, of course, but that's something that we can always improve. Now, because this is tone, it might be sort of worn out. So what we can do is find an extra shade. Whoops. What did I do with my interface? Okay, I think that solved it, kind of. Yeah, that's okay. I guess it's okay. So what we can do is find another shade, but this time we're going to go a little more saturated and a little more towards the yellow. And even then it kind of goes like, that's not really a bright color. It really does look like a bright color in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to look for highlights. Okay, and highlights are pretty much just spots in the stone that would be a perfect spot for light to bounce back at us. So it might be just a pixel, or in this case, for example, a bit of a line. And these happen mostly where surfaces sort of curve. So where there's a fold in the surface, there's probably going to be a part of that surface that is going to be facing the camera and is going to be the perfect tangent to reflect light back onto the camera. So I'll just copy these pixels, flip them horizontally, and place them back into the shape. Now in some cases here, for example, this part, I think I'm going to have to extend some of the pixels in, and I'm going to do some work like putting in pixels of intermediate colors in some parts, obviously here as well. And I'm kind of feeling like we should darken the stone color just a little bit, just to balance it out. You know, and I might not be completely happy with some of the parts here, but overall, I think we're getting somewhere. I'm going to mix all the layers together, and I think I'm going to do a little bit more shadow here on the eyes, because I don't think they need to be that bright, or they should be that bright at all. So I kind of feel like that would be more natural. As for the top of the eyebrows, I'm considering the light source to be kind of here, okay, not up. So we're going to leave that in shadow. So we're going to leave that dark tone in there for good measure. And also here on the side of the nose, we're not going to get those colors as bright. We're going to get this one. And what I'm doing here in terms of colors, what I could have done is just work in grayscale, right? Just get everything together, work in grayscale, and then in the end go in and substitute the colors, because it's kind of what I'm doing. But it also, I kind of like the way it's sort of related. Okay, so the green, for example, for the stone should be a little darker. I like how it's dependent from one another. So as far as colors goes, I think I have black, I have purple, I have this green, yellow, and then a brighter yellow. Okay, so as far as colors, I think I've hit my 5 color limit, though I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the black. I think I should keep it. I think it's a good decision. As far as some shadows here, I think I'm probably not correct. Having this shadow here underneath the nose, it probably wouldn't be there. But I really can't think of a way to not be there. Kind of looks odd. Anyway, let's keep going. paint these in here. Maybe have a fold on the tip of the nose, pretty much like you would have a separation from the nostrils to the nose itself, or even just make the nostrils wider. And that will solve it. Or actually just make it a little more, just help with the whole shape of the nostrils, just bringing these lines out and wrapping around the tip of the nose there. That kind of helps solve the nose. One thing we can also do is add a little bits of color to the edges where we feel that the the surface is going to have a sharp edge, like on the rim of the lip. I kind of like putting an edge there. It sells the idea that that is a sharp edge, and therefore it collects some of the shadow, or some of the highlights actually. And I'm continuously doing, I think I'm being a little bit stupid here because I'm continuously working on both sides. And I don't need to, because I can just then flip the other half in. I know it's kind of a cheap trick, but if the design is symmetrical, then people won't be like, they won't question it. They will go like, no, obviously that's symmetrical, so there's no need to be doing both sides at the same time. Okay, so let's put a little bit more darks here. Let's mix these two together. And I think for the side here, I think I'm kind of okay with this shape. Probably would like a bigger shadow, but since I don't have anything else around, which I will do in a bit, actually let's make a note for that here. So that's going to be my piece of stone there, and I think I'm going to go around it with a little bit of an edge. Probably get it to start a little further away so that it's a little more interesting, especially if I do something like this. It's a little more interesting to see. Maybe. Not really sure. I'd still have to think about everything else. So let's make another cut here on the stone. These ones I think I'm not going to do symmetrical, because then it will be like really obvious. Like the artist was clearly trying to save time. Did you see there how I just called myself an artist? Anyway, so it's 12 minutes in. I really don't want to spend a lot more time on this, because this is a real-time video, so it's boring for you to see things being done usually slower than what I do on the time lapses, which is basically just narrating. In this case, I'm taking the time to explain, to take you through the process in real time as I think about this. So I think I'm going to have a little. Ooh, that I probably just blew into the microphone. I think I'm going to have a little bit more shadowy bits here. And then what you can do is go in and add, a little shadow spot from time to time, just to give detail to the, provide detail to the surface, Just have one of those, like that, for example, here, and then just shadow on this side. And that's just going to do a little bit of detail on the stone. I think that these, the purple and the yellow are very far apart, and it becomes really weird to see them as colors that transition from one to the other. But I'll get there. So for the bottom here, I'm just drawing a shape, flood filling that in with color, but I'm not sure if that's the shape of the shadow. I'm kind of assuming that there's a light source at the top, and it's why most of the black shadows are on the bottom parts of surfaces. But the lighting that I've decided to put in, which is basically coming from the side here, and I should probably do a mass here of light to kind of justify it, as well as like a bright shade here. And let's, for the purpose of speed, let's do that for this side right now. And what I can do here is just eliminate some of these very specific details, like have that cut be here, for example. And then have another cut for the bottom part. And I'm doing these sort of triangle shapes here just to define the shadow, just to define that shape of like being broken. And that's why it's kind of worn out. Some of the shapes here on the sides can use a little bit of shadow. And the trick for that is just to simulate that they are in concordance with the shape, with the position of the light on the scene. So a bit more detail here, another stone. I'm going to leave that one with no cut, and then I'm going to do a cut here, for example. And that one's going to have one here. So let's do a bit of light there and there. Also on this side a little bit up as well, and on the bottom here, because again, this is close to the light source, I'm assuming. Yeah, it kind of reads well. It pops out, but I think in the end, I think I'm probably going to need to add a bit more shadows here as the stone gets further away from the light source. Let's see how that works just with the shadows, and probably also a top shadow there. Or I mean, just with these shapes. Let's see if that looks like a shadow. I'm not sure it does, because again, the transition is too strong from the. So let's just go back to from the green to the purple. The transition is very, very, very strong. What if it wasn't though? What if you could make this a little bit lighter, more saturated, or maybe less saturated? Does that look better? I honestly don't think so. You don't look at me like that. Okay, so let's put it back the way it was. Actually a little bit wouldn't be bad. So Control Alt U to give it the same settings. So the lightness is +7, +3. Okay, whoops. And let's undo this. Oh no, okay, it just does the selection. Okay, I think that looks a lot better. And then we're gonna do a little bit more highlights here and there, just to sell the idea of light source. And I think I'm gonna call this done, because again, 16 minutes, wow. That's a lot of time to be spending on a stream or in a sort of video. Okay, so this is just the idea of creating a volume just using 5 colors. And it's basically understanding the faces or the surfaces of a certain volume and whether they reflect light or not, and how much light do they reflect, and then having that read as a volume. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and take care.